Alright, all you glorious gamers out there, welcome to the PlayersToo podcast, the video game podcast for gamers like you, by gamers like you. You can find PlayersToo on all the social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the lot. You can also find our written content over at PlayersToo.com, that's PlayerStoo.com. And if you could take 5 seconds to give us 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts, it really helps us out. It does a huge amount for the exposure of the show, and it really does only take you 5 seconds. Hashtag 5 seconds, 5 stars. I've not given up. It's going to be a thing. And while you're over there, you might as well give us a little review as well. It doesn't need to be a huge diatribe. Just a wee thumbs up is good enough for us. And again, it really, really helps us out, and we would hugely appreciate it from you guys. All right, on with the show. My name is Mark Henderson. With me as always, Mr. Lewis Camley. How's it going, Lewis?
It's going okay, Mark. Not too bad. Busy old week with work for me. I've not had a day off in quite a long time now, so not a hell of a lot of gaming time, but doing okay. How are you doing?
I am fine also. However, work has been horrible. Just horrible. Such is life.
It's tough, all this adult business, isn't it?
Yeah, it's garbage.
I don't think I signed up for this.
No,
must have been
no
in the
time
small
for video
print.
games anymore. It's rubbish. Anyway, what have you been playing?
So yeah, because of the way that my working situation is just now, I haven't been playing a hell of a lot, but lo and behold, the Nintendo Switch is perfect for that kind of time in your life. So
Such a glorious little machine, isn't it?
It's perfect. It's ideal. And so I've just been ploughing on merrily with Mario Maker 2, which I've discussed a few times over the last couple of weeks. And I've also recently, just over the last few nights, returned to Baba Is You.
Ah, nice.
Which I think I spoke about like 2 or 3 weeks ago. What a fucking game, man. I cannot recommend it enough.
Man. Oh, man, that's cool.
We're, I'm assuming we're quite far into it. It's hard to tell from the overworld how much of it there really is.
Oh, so you're still playing it with your flatmate?
Yeah. So we're still just... It's perfect for those moments where one of you doesn't know the answer, that can't work out the solution, but you can kind of sit and converse about it and kind of try things and pass the controller to one another. It's one of those like amazing, it doesn't have an official co-op mode, so to speak, but like I really recommend playing it.
It's good to play with someone.
Yeah, just because you need that extra brain power, and sometimes you'll come up against a puzzle that you're just like...
I would have thought it would have been really boring for someone else to watch.
But that's it, because the two of you are sitting trying to work it out at the same time. You're kind of quite locked into it, and so even as far into the game as I am, it's still throwing new stuff at me, which I didn't really think it was going to be able to do. But just by introducing new words to if you didn't hear us talking about this before, it's an extreme brief. It's a very low resolution puzzle game where all you have to do is move words around to create statements, which then allow you to do things with the character that you control.
It's logic puzzles.
It's essentially logic puzzles, but with like shapes and stuff that you have to play around with. So you need to make things become win or become you or become move or push or whatever. But now where I'm at, it's added simple things like the word not, and so you end up with solutions that is like not Baba is not you, and therefore it really messes up how the whole playing board works. Everything that you've learned up to that point is kind of inverted, and just to find that in a game that you kind of thought you'd got the hang of, even though it's still challenging, to then be introduced to new things this late in, it's just so much fun. It's not going to be the game for everyone, absolutely, hold my hands up to that, because if you're not interested in puzzle games, or if you can't have the patience to sit and kind of work things out like that, it's not going to be for you. But it is absolutely superb if you want just a game that you can pick up every now and again. It's not something you need to play at length to kind of remember all the mechanics.
It sounds perfect for your situation as well.
Yeah, so I'm travelling around a lot just now, and I'm working a lot of long shifts, and it just means that I can get home, play it for 45 minutes to kind of like start bringing my head down from that kind of stressy work environment, and yeah, it's ideal. I really think that you should play it at some point as well, man. I know.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's definitely on the list. The long list of indie games that I have to play is definitely on there.
What's eating up your time just now, though?
Still more Fire Emblem, man. I am absolutely loving it. I think it probably is my game of the year now, to be totally honest with you. I think it is now overtaken Resident Evil 2 Remake. But we played it a little bit after the last podcast.
We did.
Thoughts?
What did I think about it? I wasn't like super into it as we were playing it. Like, I was enjoying it. I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on, but I wasn't like, whoa, in the way that some people are. But you know what? It has totally got under my skin. I've found myself thinking back to that. Just that we played basically one battle, right? I saw all your kind of setup stuff, and we played this one battle.
Well, basically, you watched.
Yeah. I wasn't playing.
I was just trying to explain what was happening most of the time, and there was, when you're trying to do that to someone else who doesn't necessarily know the mechanics of the game, it can sound like a lot of decision making that's happening, but in actual fact it becomes quite intuitive to you about what you're supposed to be doing. You can just have to make sure that you're making all the right moves, because as we said last podcast, there is permadeath, and you can't really afford to make too many bad decisions. You know what I mean? Because if a character dies, then that's that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I really liked about it quite quickly, was that even me just watching it, having not built these teams, having had no interaction with them kind of in the school part of the game, I was already finding my favourites within them. There was characters that you were using, particularly the one that was like mounted in your...
Oh, Sylvain. It was an absolute boss. Yes.
Yeah, he was like...
That's I had just got him at that class. That was the first time I'd used him mounted like that as like a... I can't remember what the class... A knight of some description.
Yeah. Cavalier, wasn't it?
Cavalier, that was it, yeah. Oh man, he was great. And you can move so much further when you upgrade them to that. I've now got another person upgraded.
Nice.
Oh man, it's good.
Yeah, it's stuff like... I really like that kind of thing in games where you're making decisions about like, okay, I want to have these kind of battalions over here, or I want to get particularly strong in this way, and I'll make sure that I don't lose out too much in this other field. Like I need some mages or whatever over here. It seems to have so much depth to
it's
it.
It's remarkable how much depth it has to it, totally, honestly. But both in the battle system and in the RPG system. It's remarkable the depth in both.
But at the same time, like watching you get that battle kind of set up, and maybe I'm missing something, but it didn't seem overly complicated. Like it didn't seem like the kind of thing that if you don't play these kind of games a lot, that you would be like, what am I supposed to be doing here?
No, because again, although I think it might sound as if I'm making a lot of decisions, it becomes quite intuitive quite quickly because the game kind of ramps you up. What it does is presents you with a huge amount of information, then slowly explains all of it. But it does hit you with a huge amount of information up front, but kind of don't worry, it will explain. it is more intuitive than it might immediately seem watching someone play the game. I think that the RPG side of it, which you haven't seen, is really does a lot for that, and really does a lot for like, I want you to get this kill so that you get a kill next to this person who I want your relationship to grow with, and you get more XP for that, and I need you to be a wee bit stronger than you actually are. And a lot of these kind of ancillary decisions that are happening from the school end of it are also affecting the decisions that you're making on the battlefield as well. It's very interesting. It has a huge amount of depth to it. You should totally buy it.
As I say, it kind of got under my skin. I've been thinking about it a bit over the last few days, and I did start to wonder if maybe this is just the time to spend the money to fork out on it and just take the risk. And maybe I'll hate it, like playing it over a long spell, or maybe I'll play it for a wee while and just kind of get a bit tired of it or whatever. But I thought like maybe this is the one that I can just like,
maybe this is the one
just like
this
fall
the
into
JRPG
it,
for me.
But it's just got those kind of those strategic elements that I'm really interested in other games. So, and it seemed like fun. It didn't seem like a kind of crazy annoying JRPG, in the way that some of the other ones can be. So, so I'm up for seeing a bit more of it. I'm definitely up for trying out at some point, and maybe taking the plunge.
Maybe next time we record this, Lewis will also own a copy of Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and he'll take 6 months to complete it. Yeah. On to the news,
yeah.
All right, news item number 1. The ESA, which is the Entertainment Software Association, have come out with a statement which is that most big publishers seem to be agreeing to disclose the loot box odds within their games, which is superb news, quite frankly. Considering all the misery that was happening last week and that we covered on the podcast, which was one of the bleakest shows that I can remember, this is like quite genuinely good news, I think. So not only have Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft agreed to this, which I would assume means that if you want to publish on their platforms, then you need to disclose
it seems that way,
loot boxes, and that seems to be, as you said, that seems to be a way that most people are taking it. We're reading this from a gamesindustry.biz article just now, which we'll post in the show notes at PlayersToo.com. However, other big publishers, including Activision Blizzard, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Bungie, EA, Microsoft, Nintendo and Sony, as we said before, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Warner Brothers and Wizards of the Coast have all also signed up to this, which is great. However, there are some notable omissions to this still, including 505 Games, Capcom, Disney, Gearbox, Konami, Riot Games, Sega, Square Enix, THQ Nordic, Tencent and Epic Games. So not everyone signed up to it, but it seems as though it's definitely a step in the right direction. I know that there's been a couple of statements out since then from various people. I know that THQ Nordic have said that they've not signed up to it because they don't have any games with microtransactions on them,
a fantastic
which was amazing. Yes, which was superb. And Epic's basically said that they are now what is it? They now show you what's going to be in your loot box before you buy it, basically.
I think so, yeah.
And they're now, well, news item number 2 as well, these two kind of roll into one another. Rocket League is getting rid of its loot boxes and instead is replacing it with this system whereby you see the items that you're going to purchase before you purchase them, which I don't think is an unreasonable thing. It's almost as if it should have been that way from the beginning.
Normal consumer business.
Yeah, so Epic have already done this in Fortnite Save the World. Yeah, I think this is all great. This is all good. All we need is more of these publishers, these other kind of ancillary publishers. Although Riot Games, I mean, for God's sake, make one of the biggest games in the world.
Capcom
Definitely,
well,
Capcom have microtransactions in their games and loot boxes specifically. So yeah, the more and more these big publishers sign up to this, the more and more you get to see the odds, and the more perhaps people begin to understand just how ludicrously small their opportunity to win things by purchasing loot box are. Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a push to change the odds so that they're a bit more reasonable. I don't know.
It seems likely that it will lead to kind of both of those things. If it is the case that you essentially won't be able to publish on Xbox, PlayStation or Nintendo Switch without disclosing them, then surely all of these big publishers, or certainly all of the major ones, will.
Not on PC though, which I mean,
PC,
well, particularly for Riot Games, which is League of Legends, I mean that is all.
But if you end up being the only one left out in the cold, if you're the only publisher who's still there giving it, we are not going to tell you how little odds you have of winning this one thing that you want.
It's not a brilliant look.
No.
Again, for someone the size of Riot Games, I doubt they care that much.
Questionable moral behaviour anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, it seems a little bit like the beginning of the end, dare we say, of
I don't think it's the beginning
loot boxes.
Of the end. I really don't. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I really don't think loot boxes are going anywhere anytime soon. Just because you get to see the odds of these things doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be any sort of slowdown in the amount of money pumped into them, because Apple have done this for a long time on their store, and obviously mobile games are absolutely jammed packed full of microtransactions and horrible predatory loot boxes.
Yeah.
You can go and see the odds for all of them, and it doesn't stop any of that at all. And we all know how many millions upon millions upon millions of dollars mobile gaming makes in microtransactions.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really think that this is going to change much in that front. Like, I don't think it's stopping anyone. It's just the principle of the thing. You know what I mean? I know that we keep comparing loot boxes to gambling here, which is basically because we believe that they are. When you go to a casino to gamble, when you go to a bookies to gamble, you know the odds, at least. At the very least, you know the odds, no matter how astronomically high. You know the odds that you're betting on, whereas...
Yeah, absolutely. That it's definitely going to improve things a bit. I think you're probably right that it's not going to be the end of things, but I can't help but think that if you're the only publisher or the first publisher that comes out and announces a game after this kind of comes into practice, and you put out odds that the community is just simply laughs at. You know, if you're saying it's 1,000,000 to 1 that you're going to get the thing that you want, and another game comes out 2 weeks later and says, well, it's 20 to 1 in our game that you'll get the thing, it's very hard to keep maintaining those huge odds, and so the likelihood of getting the thing that you want might come down even if loot boxes remain. Hopefully, once you know how little chance there is of getting these things, people might just stop doing it so much, and then that might take some of the money out of it.
Perhaps it will.
And to go into Rocket League just quickly, this is obviously kind of following on from what Epic have already done with Fortnite, making things kind of a bit more transparent.
Yep.
Do you think that this is all down to the money that Epic is able to pump into games? We've talked a lot recently about the furore, the anger around Epic Store exclusives. Is it the case that the money that developers can get or publishers can get from Epic means that this might start happening more as well?
I think it's got to factor in, at the very least. I would have thought that the fact that Epic have probably given... What's the name of the developer? Psyonix, a damn healthy amount of money, and I think that Epic obviously wants to move their loot box system towards this model of being able to see what you buy before you buy it, which I think is perfectly reasonable. It would be very good if they would also choose to disclose the odds of getting certain things in these loot boxes, so that, I don't know, because I think the way that it works just now is that if you get a loot box and you don't like what's inside it, you need to wait like a day, to get a new one, basically. And I don't know, could you wait your whole life and never get the gun skin or whatever it is you want, without buying it? So it would be good to know that as well, and then people can, again, it's just about people making more informed decisions.
Exactly,
you know what I mean? It's just like, is this actually worth gambling my money on, or is it worth me just going and buying the skin if I can, or just forgetting about it?
Yeah, forgetting about it, exactly, yeah.
But I think it's a good thing. It's one of the first games, or maybe the first game, probably the most popular game that I can remember, certainly, that has actively removed microtransactions from the game. Although you're probably saying, oh, well, Fortnite's more popular, but it was the Save the World mode of Fortnite. It wasn't the immensely popular Battle Royale mode in Fortnite. Forgetting about that is the biggest game, definitely, to take them away.
Absolutely,
and they were prevalent in Rocket League. I mean, they weren't intrusive necessarily, but they were definitely there, and you could definitely, and I know that they must have been popular. Yeah, I think it's August, is it, that they're doing away with them?
I think they've just said it'll be later this year, so we're just kind of waiting on the final deadline for it, and yeah, keep an eye out if you're a Rocket League player.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe don't spend too much on those loot boxes just now, because you might be able to see what you're getting before you piss your money down the drain, quite frankly. Okay, news item number 3, and we're back onto the depressing news. Walmart has decided to take down violent imagery in and around video games. It was kind of leaked on Twitter that they were sending, kind of memos around to their staff in various stores.
Yeah, the memo read, turn off or unplug any video game display consoles that show a demo of violent games, specifically PlayStation and Xbox units. Anderson merchandisers will be in your store to update these demo units within the next week. Cancel any events promoting combat style or third-person shooter games that may be scheduled in electronics. Verify that no movie depicting violence are playing in electronics. Turn off any hunting season videos that may be playing in sporting goods, and remove any monitors or displays that show the videos. Check all signing throughout the store and remove any referencing combat or third-person shooter video games.
Now, they're saying that they've done all this out of respect for the incidents that happened in the past week. Obviously, the incidents that happened in the Walmart stores were absolutely horrific. Nothing to make light of in the slightest. It was really, really terrible. And in fact, I think there was actually another separate shooting in a Walmart store in Mississippi or something like that.
Was that right? Yeah.
I think it was the week before, like the El Paso and the Dayton, Ohio ones. But yeah, I think there was another shooting in a Walmart store. So they're saying that they're doing this out of respect for the incidents in the past week, referring to these shootings, which would be all well and good if they didn't sell actual guns that these people use to murder people in their stores a few aisles away. It's a nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense.
I mean, the fact that they have a sporting goods section which might be showing hunting videos at any point that requires them to instruct people to go and turn off those videos is fairly testament that it's just mad that this is a grocery store, essentially. This is like...
Yeah, that's it. Go
like
and pick
going
up
to buy
some veg,
food.
just go and get a bit of cooked meat over there, pick up a rifle and some ammo.
Yeah.
That's fine. Take it to the self-scan checkout. Obviously it's bananas. It's crazy. That was not intended. That was not intended.
This is the best joke you ever told. It seems slightly insane that they think that they should take away the signage, which is fair enough in this context, but they wouldn't do anything about removing their guns from sale.
They have specifically said as well that this isn't a permanent change to their policy around video games or any of these other entertainment mediums that are showing or depicting like violence in any way, but they've explicitly stated as well that they will not be changing their policy around guns and the sales of their guns, and it's just insane that this was the priority, to be seen as if they were doing something. This was the priority. And although it's not just video games, it's not, like I said, they do mention videos of hunting and things like that, of people maybe using actual guns, of demos of the rifles that they're actually sold. They do mention movies in here as well. Fair enough, it's not only video games, but I feel as if there's quite a strong emphasis on video games. And again, it just gives credence to this argument that video games have anything to do with the actions of these people in the real world. It's not true. Not true, and it's provable that it's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no kind of scientific connection between the two things, and I think you're right. Although they do talk about other things here, it does all follow in the wake of particularly President Trump saying that violent video games played a role in all of this, or continues to play a role in all of this, and it does seem reactive to that. But it should be said, they aren't removing actual games from their stores.
No. That's an excellent point. I think initially some news outlets were suggesting that it was the games themselves, it was violent video games themselves that were being taken from shelves. That isn't the case. It's just imagery around that. I don't know, maybe, for example, they might have had a big cardboard cutout of Master Chief with a gun or something like that. It would have been things like that were taken down. They mentioned specifically demos of violent games, which, to be honest with you probably shouldn't be demoing a violent game in a shop where young kids can probably get access to it quite easily.
But then it also depends what is even termed a violent game, because most games have violence of some sort as a core mechanic. It might not be extremely bloody or graphic or whatever, but attacking things is pretty much common in every video game, right?
I mean, I bet there's Fortnite stand in their gaming department, and again, one of their characters will probably be standing with a gun, so that'll be getting taken down. I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with anything, quite frankly. I don't think that taking down those things is necessary. However, I obviously wasn't affected by it. I'm many thousands of miles away, so if Walmart felt as if this was a good step that they had to do for particularly the communities of El Paso and Dayton and where these horrible things happened. However, it all feels a bit disingenuous when a few aisles away you can buy the same guns that they use to kill people in their stores. It just seems nonsense. Another thing as well, so this is kind of news item 3.5, was that an Apex Legends tournament, the EXP Invitational, that was supposed to be shown on ESPN, was pulled, again, out of respect for the victims. I don't feel quite as bad with this one, to be honest with you. It still feels very much as if they're focusing on the wrong things here, because I was just kind of wondering about this. So I looked at ESPN, and ESPN are actually owned by Disney, and Disney own like a plethora of...
They own everything.
Yeah, well,
they own all that there is.
Basically everything. No, but they own a lot of other TV channels, particularly big networks in America. One of the other ones that they own is FX, which shows like a whole bunch of stuff that I like Archer and It's Always Sunny, things like that were shown on FX. But they were showing a movie, Sicario, 2015.
Oh, yeah.
And I will just read from Wikipedia here. The film follows a principled FBI agent who is enlisted by a government task force to bring down the leader of a powerful and brutal Mexican drug cartel. Now, you might be thinking, oh, come on now, Mark, that's a wee bit of a stretch. Well, perhaps, right? However, the film was also set in, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this name, Ciudad Juarez, right?
It's Juarez. Everyone knows kind of Juarez. Yeah.
Right, which, and I cannot emphasize this enough, is directly across the border from El Paso, Texas. Yeah. And it's just like, even if that was in the programming, you know what I mean? You're choosing a pull, assuming that the decision came from Disney, you're choosing a pull an Apex Legends tournament, but this basically cop program about a whole bunch of FBI agents going to kill a Mexican drug cartel in a place that is really very close indeed to where these horrific shootings took place. You would have thought that might have been the thing to pull. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Now, I don't have anything against FX. I don't have a lot against Disney, actually, but I don't have anything particularly against FX. I don't have anything particularly against this movie. I don't have anything against anyone.
It's a good movie, actually.
It may very well be. I've not seen it myself, right? But I have nothing against any of these things. But it just feels as if you were going to pull something from your many television networks, it felt as if maybe the video game thing was getting pulled because it was a video game, not because of the violence in it, because things like that were on your other networks. Yeah. So, yeah, you can go and look that up if you want.
I mean, I think you're totally
FX
right.
in America. If they felt as if they had to do this, if they felt this was a good move and they didn't want to show what I'm sure were kids basically playing video games with guns on your very popular sports channel, fine. I don't hugely have a problem with that. It must have been very raw for a lot of people who probably wanted to just disconnect from it totally. Do you know what I mean? But again, it feels very disingenuous when things like that movie are on another channel within all the networks that you own, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems completely the case that it's been pulled because it's a video game. It's also still been shown on their web platforms and on streaming services. It just isn't being shown on their digital channels, which sort of means then that you have to go and seek it out. And if you're the kind of person who is going to watch it in the first place, you're probably the kind of person who's going to seek it out. It's not like a video game tournament is going to have a lot of casual, random viewers.
No, it also wasn't live. It was like a highlight reel of a tournament that had already happened. It was also going to be shown at a later date on, like, was it ESPN 2 or something like that, or ESPN 3? I feel less bad about that one, but I still feel a bit like, was this necessary? It is kind of giving credence to the argument.
Yeah, absolutely.
The video games have anything at all to do with this.
Yeah, it's completely plain.
I just don't like it. It just doesn't sit well with me, you know?
It's something for people to watch. It's something that we need to, as gamers and as part of this community, to be mindful of, that as much as last week we were saying don't get drawn into these arguments, and you absolutely shouldn't get drawn into these arguments. We don't have to defend gaming from this kind of thing. But be mindful of what companies are doing, and you can challenge that. Absolutely, you can. That's the kind of thing that we need to say. Well, hang on, we are still paying for these services, and we think these things are fine, and we've got evidence that these things are fine. So we should get the things that we're asking for.
Yeah, and if anyone who's thinking, oh well, they're saying don't engage with this, and they've spent God knows how long speaking about it over the last 2 podcasts, I think it's important that we as gamers, we as a community know about these things that are happening. However, I don't think that it's very productive to be wasting our time defending the position that video games don't have anything to do with these attacks, don't have anything to do with gun crime, do not influence that in any way, because that's a conversation that has been had and has been won. And I think it's much more important that we do highlight things like, have you taken that down because you genuinely think that that is disrespectful to the victims to show that? Because if you do think that that's disrespectful to show a video game, then why isn't it disrespectful to show this movie, which is, I mean, from all the things that I just read, pretty close to the bone. I would have thought for someone who had just experienced a mass shooting, which was highly racially charged. And your president keeps on calling any immigrant a drug dealer, you know,
or worse,
or worse. Exactly. It's I don't know. It just, none of it sits right with me. Particularly the Walmart stuff is just crazy to me. I just don't get it. I just don't get all this gun stuff in America. I really don't. And the problem is that we're in such a global market now these days, is that this stuff does affect us. Like, so for anyone thinking, oh, why don't you just butt out of this? It's like, it's not really possible. It still affects us. It's still something that was worth talking about and is worth keeping an eye on, even if you're not an American person either. All right, and news item number 4. Xbox is considering multi-platform options for its first-party studios. This from Matt Booty, who has an awesome segment, who is the first-party studios boss over at Microsoft. He had this to say. What did Mr. Booty say, Lewis?
I am playing the role of Mr. Booty, as I do every day. I think that the question is less binary about, should it be on Switch, should it be on PlayStation, and more, does it make sense for the franchise? In other words, is it a kind of game where it would benefit from the network effect of being on a bunch of different platforms, or is it a game where we can best support it by putting resources and making sure that our platforms, things like xCloud and Game Pass and Xbox Live, are really leaning in to support the game?
All good stuff, I think. He did also mention that things like Minecraft, which obviously Xbox bought over. What was it, Mojang? Mojang Games. It was kind of a no-brainer that you would keep that game on all the platforms it was already on and keep those fans that were already well invested happy. However, he does also say that franchises like Forza, Halo, Sea of Thieves were designed to be on the Xbox from the outset and basically weren't going to be going anywhere. And he also mentioned that The Outer Worlds, Obsidian's new game, which is currently being published by Private Division, yes, and is now being bought by Xbox. So any sequels are likely to be an Xbox exclusive franchise. So it seems to be, he said a thing and then basically said, oh no, but not any of that stuff, not any stuff you already know. You know, I don't know, how do you feel about this statement?
I think it's quite a good statement from the perspective of gamers. I think that if it turns out that The Outer Worlds ends up being an Xbox exclusive going forward, presuming that I am not about to join the Xbox family, as I have yet to do, because it feels to me like that's a game that's going to have success across different platforms, and that seems like one that would be perfect to keep in other areas. But given the number of studios that Microsoft have been buying in the last couple of years, the amount of really good games that are likely to come from that, and the partnerships that we've seen, particularly between Xbox and Nintendo over the last few months, it would seem completely stupid and unbusinesslike to restrict some of these games. I completely accept that Forza and Halo and stuff belong on Xbox. Those are your system sellers. You want to keep them there.
But why is it any more stupid for Xbox to restrict those titles than it is for PlayStation to restrict God of War and Last of Us and Spider-Man?
No, I don't think that they are either. I'm putting them in the same bracket as your Forzas and your Halos. Like, I completely understand that systems want their big exclusives because they're system shifters, absolutely, and particularly something like Halo. I mean, that's their whole
It's the Holy Grail, isn't it?
Yeah, it's their mascot character. You can possibly be putting that elsewhere. But your mid-tier games that you're helping, like Cuphead in particular that we've been playing, like that is something that they've put money into, but they are going to make money from by selling it elsewhere on other systems where it's suitable. And I think that they're bound to have other games like that going forward.
So is what you're saying that these established franchises, your Forzas, your Halos, your Gears of War, Sea of Thieves, all that'll be on the Xbox, and then for all these new studios, your Obsidians, Ninja Theory, what was the other one as well that they bought? They bought Compulsion Games that did We Happy Few as well.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Was it Compulsion Games? I'm sure it was.
I could not tell you.
I'm pretty sure it was. But they also bought the Forza studio as well, which is just a bit mad that they never owned them already.
Yeah, it was Compulsion Games, sorry.
Thank you. Just waiting to be proven right there. That's fine. Yeah, so they bought them. So the next games from this lot, that's basically what you're saying, is that these might be multi-platform.
Yeah, I'm not saying that all of them will be, and not that they always will be necessarily. It seems to me like the sensible approach is we have our system exclusives, and beyond that we have games that we maybe put on Xbox first, but that we are open to the idea of them going elsewhere.
Because Bleeding Edge from Ninja Theory, which is their kind of...
Yeah.
Was it 3D Smash-esque kind of melee team thing?
Yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it.
This is as good a description as we've had.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's prime candidate to be multi-platform,
exactly,
as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that feels like it needs to be. There's just bound to be other games. So, a lot of like Ori and the Blind Forest or
bring it to Switch. Please bring it to Switch.
Things like that are so suited particularly to the Switch. I cannot see at what point they'll decide that putting things on the PlayStation is the answer.
Well, that's basically what I was thinking about as well, is that how do they justify the decision to put it on a PlayStation? I mean, unless PlayStation absolutely wipes the floor with them again in the next generation, I can't really see any justification for Xbox wanting to put the next, Obsidian game on PlayStation. Like, what do they gain from that?
I suppose
more unit sales, I guess?
I guess they get more game sales because no one or not a lot of people are going to buy an Xbox 2 or whatever it's going to be called for the next Obsidian game necessarily, unless their world is an absolute killer.
Well, it's a shame not to be pretty good, man.
Well, exactly. But it seems strange to me that he specifically mentioned PlayStation in this quote, because you could easily have said Stadia and Switch, and it probably wouldn't even be news if they'd said that, because we know that they're open to doing things like that. But mentioning PlayStation specifically, and because we know things like this deal between Sony and Microsoft around cloud servers and all that kind of thing, I wonder if we're just starting to move into a space where these traditional structures are breaking down, and the big three, or certainly Xbox and PlayStation or Sony and Microsoft, might start acting more like traditional publishers and less like, hardware units that have to kind of think in that way, I
think particularly Microsoft are looking to move in that direction, it seems. And they just want to get their games on as many platforms as possible. I struggle to see the day, honestly, it's going to be on a PlayStation personally, but perhaps I will be proven wrong. Okay, just to finish off on a couple of shout outs as always. Well, there was a bit of a kerfuffle regarding Ninja's old Twitch channel. I didn't really want to cover this in the news as a news item because basically it was just dumb. It was really, really dumb. Do you know about this?
I do. I wasn't following it a lot because it sort of happened while I've been busy with work, and as I said last week, I'm not massively bothered about this world. But.
No, it was just weird though as well. So what Twitch decided to do was promote the top, 20 Fortnite streamers on Ninja's old channel that still has, 14 odd million followers, which, I mean...
Nice idea,
but I mean, the man built up that platform over a long period of time, and Twitch have just went, all right, okay, so you're away, well, we'll just keep that. It was a bit suspect to begin with, but all right, we'll let that slide. However, apparently there was some porn channel that was on the top of this list for like 2 hours. It's just absolutely madness. To be fair to Ninja handled it quite well, I thought, and he came out and he said, this was really horrible, this was disgusting, really sorry for anyone that saw this, particularly kids and whatever like that, because I mean he's followed by a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had to do that. I think he could have come out and been very blamey towards Twitch, but it sort of kind of wasn't, despite the fact that he obviously had no control over it whatsoever. So I think he came out of it quite well, but it was just stupid. It was just stupid by Twitch. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say apart from don't be dumb.
Good advice, generally speaking.
Yeah, just another shout out that I wanted to mention, which was kind of it just kind of was breaking just now almost, or in the last few hours. There's been some patent filed to the FCC which regards a wireless SNES controller for the Switch, which many have taken to mean that perhaps we will soon be seeing SNES games on Nintendo Online, which would be very cool.
Absolutely. We've been getting this news kind of drip fed for a long time now. There was all that data mining stuff months ago.
Well, we know for a fact that there are other emulators within that data. I don't know how data mining works, but within whatever data was mined, there was evidence of more emulators than just the NES emulator that the Switch is currently running.
Yeah, so given that we know that, and if this patent seems to be suggesting absolutely that the SNES is coming, it's all just building a bigger picture of what the future of Nintendo Switch Online is going to look like. And it's nearly a year now? About a year since it launched?
The article that I was reading, I think it was an IGN article. Again, we'll put it in the show notes over at PlayersToo.com. Was suggesting that the light's coming soon. It's rocking up to a year of. Because remember, they had it all in place for Smash coming out in December.
Yeah.
So I think it was about November time, maybe slightly before, that it was kind of the 1 year anniversary of it. So it'd be kind of like a nice time to give it like an extra wee boost.
Definitely,
you know?
Yeah.
Considering I don't think many people are overly bothered about it by and large, unless you play Smash or you were playing Splatoon.
Yeah, and then certainly in terms of the kind of NES game offer that you get in it, no one's talking about it particularly.
No,
at the time everyone went, oh cool, and then it's sort of been forgotten about. So.
Although Tecmo Bowl, by the way, I did quite like Tecmo Bowl.
That was class.
Yeah, that was class.
We got quite addicted to that briefly.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird that we got addicted to that. But again, I think there's a lot more classics on this NES. It's just a more powerful, better system with better games, quite frankly. So it'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's have it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we go for a wee break, and then we'll be back with Topic of the Week. And we are back with Topic of the Week. Topic of the Week this week is our gaming sins. Lewis Camley, this was your idea. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so we just thought after quite a bleak week last week, and also partly because this week we've been talking about not having that much time for gaming, and it's been this glorious summer here in Scotland, so it's been quite hard to stay inside all the time, although the last few days have been fucking rotten.
It comes and goes in Scotland.
Yeah,
it comes and goes.
It just got me into that headspace of thinking like things in gaming that make me guilty or that I'm a bit like ashamed of, but not, you should never be ashamed of the games that you love, absolutely not. So just, in quite a lighthearted way, we just want to talk about some of those games that are maybe sitting on our shelves that we've not got to yet, or stuff that we've always meant to play that we've not got to. So let's maybe just start it off, Mark, with games that you have never played but that you really ought to have played.
Well, the first thing that jumps immediately to mind, and I know for a fact that you have played these games, is the Arkham games, and I have played none of the Arkham games.
No Arkham games.
I mean, I've had a shot of a few Arkham games. I think all of them have been owned by you. But I've never actually played the Arkham games for basically no good reason. I think that they would be great. I think I would enjoy them. I just happen not to have played them.
Yeah, they would be 100% up your street.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely would be.
I remember we played the demo on the PS3 together as well. They had put out for Arkham Asylum, the first game, they put out like a pretty decent wee demo, essentially just a vertical slice from the start of the game.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Yeah.
God, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're totally right. We did play that.
Yeah, we played that quite a bit and back then. And do you think that you'll ever go back to them? I know we've touched on that before, but is it a game that I don't think you're likely to pick it up anymore.
I don't know. The thing is that it was such a big deal at the time that I feel as if I've kind of missed the boat. And like the most meaningful thing about it was the conversations that were kind of happening around about it at the time. I mean, the combat was so good at the time. The stories that were happening around it were so good at the time. I kind of know some of the most spoilery stuff that happens in the stories now as well. The stealth elements of it all have all been kind of done again by other games. So from my perspective, although I appreciate that a lot of that came from the Arkham series, it wouldn't feel as fresh to me as it would have done to you or to other people that were playing it at the time. I don't have a huge desire, if I'm totally honest, to go back and play them. However, I do know that there's like the trilogy or whatever is coming out, or like some HD trilogy.
Another
version of them, yes, is coming out. Yeah. But honestly, not really. I don't massively have any strong feelings to go back and do them now. At the time, I always kind of felt as if I'm missing out. I was always like, I should just go and buy these, or I should. But it's kind of like got to the point where they're so far gone now that I'm just kind of like, right. Well,
particularly,
I just missed that. It felt as if they were a very important moment in time that basically I missed, but there's no really any need to go back to it.
I think that's almost nail on the head, because they spanned that crossover from the PS3, Xbox 360 generation into the current generation, and particularly those first two games really in some ways set the tone for how open world kind of action adventure games were going to be going forward. But then having played something like Shadow of Mordor after that on PS4,
exactly, which took a lot from
beats,
it. Even Marvel's Spider-Man, I mean, I know that the combat system that they had in there was not the same, but like had similarities to, and I think a lot of games have had a lot of kind of similarities to it as well since then. So again, like I said, it probably just wouldn't feel as fresh to someone like me now, having played the games that have come out since, that have been so heavily influenced by them.
Absolutely.
Anyway, what about you?
My biggest game that I've never played, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, the whole history of Nintendo is kind of absent for both of us to a certain extent. And plenty of Xbox games over the years that I would love to have played. My biggest one is Final Fantasy VII.
Oh God!
And I
so play it.
It's such a seminal video game. It's so important to the medium in general, and
that is something that, unlike the Arkham series, I would totally recommend you go back and done it. It transcends I think its moment in time.
I maybe asked you this during our E3 discussions right at the start of our PlayersToo journey, and I think I asked you then, is it worth waiting and just playing the remake? But the more and more, as excited as I am for the remake, because I think it looks really good, given that we're only getting 10% of the original game's kind of story within that.
Well, it seems to be. I mean, I thought we were getting slightly more. I thought it was going to be more like a third. But it seems to be, a lot of commentary seems to be that it's not even going to be, like you said, it's going to be about 10%. I think that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that the game in itself will be very good, but I think that the context around it being the original game, like, it does a lot for it as well. Like, not just a nostalgia play as well, but I mean, being able to have the conversation at that time around what has changed like along the way, because we know for a fact that there are going to be significant narrative changes in the remake. But for the original, I mean, the original was the reason. I mean, it's the reason why I am currently playing Fire Emblem. I mean, if I hadn't played and loved Final Fantasy VII, I probably wouldn't really be interested at all in Fire Emblem. Probably wouldn't have played Octopath Traveler last year. Probably wouldn't have stuck around with Pokemon games as long as I did, because I would have probably written them off as like kids games. You know what I mean? So all that kind of menu driven JRPG stuff, like I wouldn't have played any of that if it wasn't for Final Fantasy VII. It is such an unbelievably important game for me that you should definitely play it.
I think I'm going to. I've been dicing with the idea of buying it on Switch recently, just because of that, because it's so important to video gaming in the last sort of 30 years. It's such a big game, big story, and I think it's probably a bit like I was saying with Fire Emblem earlier. I think it's probably time to just bite the bullet with games like that traditionally, because of their length and the kind of the style of gameplay, I've just been put off by. But I think maybe, Mark, it's time. I think I need to just try it. I think I just need to go for it.
It was time about 20 years ago. But yes, it's definitely time.
I had Final Fantasy VIII, and I was
you did have Final Fantasy.
I was too young to get it, though.
But, oh God, I'm knocking over empty beer cans. I'm getting so excited about Final Fantasy VII. But Final Fantasy VIII was such a weird one in the series. It was a bit standout. It wasn't a usual game in the Final Fantasy series. I think that Final Fantasy VII was so different because it went from being like high fantasy to being like very steampunk, which was kind of in line with the mood of the time, shall we say, or in line with a lot of media that was happening at the time, the kind of steampunky sort of vibe that all went along with it. So it just felt very cool at the time as well. Man, we should totally play it.
Like,
see if you buy it. I would be more than happy for, like, after we usually game a bit after these podcasts, you should just keep playing it here, and I will be giddy. Quite frankly, it would be awesome.
I might well take you up on that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of, you don't really normally play long games. What are some games that you have never finished then that you are going?
Oh man. When I was thinking about this before, there's one that really sticks in my craw, right? And actually, I think it might have some relevance to you as well. A game that I've never finished that I'm sort of embarrassed by, and I know I'll never go back and do it now, is The Last of Us. I've never finished it.
You never finished
I played so much of it and I just
Oh my God.
put it down and I never went back to it.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, spoiler alert for a question that might be coming up later, but I have never played The Last of Us at all. And I always thought that you lorded it over me because you'd played it and I hadn't even finished it.
I mean, I can continue to lord over because at least I've played it. But yeah.
I'm going to finish it though. I'm definitely going to finish it before I play
know.
the second one. Like, without a shadow of a doubt.
There's absolutely no reason for it. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't anything like that. I got to a point, I probably was a bit stuck, probably just bought another new game or whatever. I can't even remember. When did it come out? Like 2013, is that right? Like the original
something
release?
like that. It was a while ago now.
Which, if it was then, and I could be totally wrong about that, was kind of when I was still at uni and was kind of finishing up. I'm willing to pin it on that for now, but it might well have been after that. And I can't explain it. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the app.
Original release was in 2013.
Yeah.
June.
Yeah, well, there you go. Like, that's pretty much as I was graduating. So I suspect that things just overtook me or whatever. But I remember exactly where I got to as well. It was quite a difficult moment, and so part of me is like, did you stop playing that because you find it too hard, too scary? But yeah, I would love to go back and beat it. I just think that I would have to now restart it, and I can't see myself doing that. And I'm definitely going to play part 2 whenever it comes out next year.
But you're not going to have the gravitas of the end.
And I know that there's some amazing... I've managed to avoid all spoilers about the
I mean,
end.
I don't know what happens at the end either. No one spoiled us on social media for us, or I'm going to be very upset with you. But like, I don't know the spoilers for the end either.
Yeah.
But I need to have played that before I play part 2. Like, I know that within myself. It's kind of like, so the new Doom's coming out as well, which I'm super excited about. But I'm definitely going to go back and play Doom 2016 before then. I cannot believe that you're going to play that game without having finished that.
I mean, maybe I will. I might just watch it or something. What's a game that you've never finished then? I feel like when we were kids, I was always fairly bad at finishing games. But I feel like your whole life you've been pretty solid. Like, you play a game until you've beat it, basically.
I have, to be completely frank. Like, I'm actually very good at finishing games, and I'm a bit of a completionist in general. I have to go and check every little nook and cranny just to see if there's an item there that there probably isn't, but what if there is this time? Yeah, I go and do all this, and I spend a lot of time doing things like that. Honestly, the game that stands out to me the most that I never finished is Bloodborne.
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean, fair enough, really, on that front. It's not quite the same.
And kind of now Sekiro as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel as if at some point, I feel very strongly as if I'll go back to Sekiro, because I was kind of getting into it, but Fire Emblem came round, and basically I just got to a point that I was really rather difficult, and I was kind of struggling a bit, and I just was a wee bit like, nah, I just need to step away from this for a wee bit, and then I did, and then Fire Emblem came out, and now I've been totally 100% into that. But I reckon I might come back to Sekiro a wee bit. But Bloodborne, I just don't know. And by all accounts, a better game. One of the best PlayStation exclusives ever, most people would say. And I'm really, really not sure that I'm ever going to go back to it. I'm really not sure.
Something about Bloodborne, to me, I think I agree 100% with what you just said. Like, I feel the same about Sekiro, that I can see myself going back to it. I was enjoying it. It didn't feel overly difficult, but still really challenging. But something about Bloodborne makes my stomach turn thinking about playing it again, trying to push forward. I mean, I only played it for a few hours, even with you, but we just didn't get anywhere. And
that's kind of it, is that I only got to the second area or something like that, which I know that diehard Souls fans are scoffing at, and I was just like, but it was at a time in my life, I was trying to play it at a time in my life where I didn't have a lot of time for gaming at all, really. So I was only playing it in wee bursts here and there, which meant that every time you went into it, you kind of had to refamiliarize yourself with everything. And even if that's just like the timing of dodging and the timing of when you're supposed to be attacking against certain types of enemies, because the game is so punishing, it's quite difficult to motivate yourself into that, to motivate yourself to go into a game that you know that you're just going to get battered for a while, and then that'll be half your play session. Then you'll kind of refamiliarize yourself to a point where you might be able to make some progress, but then you've only made 20 minutes of progress, which might not even be to the next bonfire.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And then you put it down for a week because your life's too busy.
Exactly.
And that's so hard.
I was playing it at a very poor point in my life to try and dedicate any real time to it, if I'm totally honest. I think that I will be massively disappointed if I don't go back and give that a serious shot at some point, because it's not that I wasn't enjoying it at all. Like, it was finally starting to click with me, like, oh, this is actually really, really good. but it took so much effort to get to that point. And again, it's like you with The Last of Us. I'd need to start again, and to get to that point again, it feels overwhelming. To even get to the second area again. Do you know what I mean? Right. Okay. Just to close this off, what is the worst game that you really enjoyed?
Oh man. I think that these days my gaming time is so limited that I don't have a lot of them.
Well, I would agree, and to be clear, like, we're not saying that these games are bad, because we enjoyed these games, so we think these games are good, but a consensus of gamers would say that this game is bad, but you really enjoyed it.
Well, oh God. The one thing that keeps springing to mind, which I think that we would argue is a really good game, and maybe other people would, is that Tsushima. I don't actually know its proper name. That's just all we've ever called it. The fish shooter one that we got off.
Sashimi. Sashimi's amazing. What are you talking about? That's an absolutely
would that be
awesome
considered
game.
a decent game?
I don't know, but ladies and gentlemen, if you have not
it's got good scores right enough.
There you go. Yes.
Well, I'm glad of that. That was the first thing that popped into my head. The other thing that it's obviously.
Sorry, I need to punt this now.
Okay, sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not played Sashimi, you can spell it out, seeing as you've obviously got it up, because it's spelled a wee bit weird. And it's just a fish game that each level lasts 3 seconds, and it's a wave-based thing, and it's mental and crazy and great fun at parties. Basically.
No, it is fantastic. How
do you spell it?
It's SHUTSHIMI, and it was one of the one of the PSN free games way back now.
If it costs any more than $5, don't buy it.
Yeah, definitely don't buy it. I'm not sure. Have you got one?
Enter the Matrix.
Well, actually, yeah, that whole vein of PS2, particularly
Enter the Matrix,
movie
and The Path of Neo. I absolutely loved them at the time. And if you look up anything about any of the two of those games, it's basically everyone saying that they are hot garbage. I don't know. I think I had a bit of an obsession with The Matrix at the time.
I mean, yeah.
And I just absolutely loved those games. Like, I really loved playing those games. I think I played through Enter the Matrix about 10 times.
I remember playing ludicrous. That extensively. Yeah.
Do you know what another one is as well?
Did that have co-op? Did we play that together? Did you play
I think
you played as like Ghost and...
You played as Ghost and Naomi? Was that right?
Niobe?
Niobe? Oh, was that it? Alright, yeah.
God, that is a good one. Good answer there.
I know, right? Yeah. I know. Also, and I remember playing this at yours because you owned it, Simpsons Wrestling. Which was absolutely dog shit.
Good Lord.
We spent a long time playing that, Liz. We spent a lot of time playing that.
That's what I was originally thinking there, was just of those old like SmackDown games and stuff, which at the time felt great, but I did play one of the PS2 SmackDowns not that long ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. I played one of probably the original SmackDown on PS2. Just I wanted to do the career mode stuff again because I was kind of getting back into wrestling, and good grief, they're not
really
good.
Really bad. That's amazing. Anyway, I think we've went on long enough now about our terrible games. You can let us know your gaming sins on any of the social media, and you can also make fun of us if you like.
You simply must on both counts.
Yes, you simply must. Although don't spoil The Last of Us, because I will attack you. I will hunt you down and I will find you. All right. Jesus, this has been a car crash of an ending. You can find PlayersToo on all the social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the lot. You can find our written content over at PlayersToo.com. That's PLAYERSTOO.com. And if you could take 5 seconds to give us 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts, we would really, really, really appreciate it, guys. Seriously, it does a huge amount for the exposure of the podcast. We don't really understand why, but it definitely does a huge amount for the exposure of the podcast. And while you're over there, if you could give us a wee review as well, not a huge diatribe, but again, it does so much for the exposure of the podcast. We'd just like to remind everyone that Undertale is our play along for this month. I've still not started it.
Yep.
But I'm going to. I think I'm going. I might start it after this very podcast, Lewis. Actually.
Oh really? Yeah, you're going to dive into.
So yeah, I'm going to get on that soon, and I'm very excited to talk about it because it's an absolute cult classic and could have easily made the list of games that I definitely want to play but haven't yet. So yeah, play along with us, or play along with me anyway. Lewis has already played it, and we'll catch you next week, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much.
See you.